Gold's been called real money for 5,000 years. Empires killed for it, America ditched it in 71, and now Bitcoin wants its crown. But which actually saves your sweat, your time, your energy? I'm Nate Ledger, and I've seen this story play out before. Imagine waking up and gold's price doubles overnight. Sounds wild, Roosevelt did it in 33, Nixon killed gold in 71. Could they do it again to back a new world currency? If not gold, what? I've got insane facts for you. And trust me, the last one will blow your mind. Chapter 1. Why sound money matters. Money isn't paper. It isn't numbers on a screen. It's human sweat, bottled and stored, your hours of labor frozen in time. But here's the catch. What you trade those hours for either lasts, or it gets stolen silently. Think back to Rome. A common worker's day in the 1st century could buy bread, cheese, and wine for his family. In real terms, 1 silver denarius equaled about a soldier's daily wage, enough to live decently. But when emperors like Nero clipped coins with cheaper metals, that same denarius suddenly bought less and less. Inflation wasn't invented in the 20th century. It's been robbing workers since Caesar's day. Doesn't that sound eerily familiar? Fast forward to 1920 America. A $20 gold piece bought you a tailored suit, shiny shoes, and maybe even a nice dinner. Today, that same $20 bill barely covers a decent shirt at Walmart, yet the ounce of gold it once represented still buys you a high-quality suit. See the trap? Currency fades. Stores of value endure. This is why sound money matters. It's not about shiny coins or fancy banknotes. It's about whether your life's effort carries forward into the future. If you save in the wrong thing, your energy leaks away. If you save in the right thing, you pass on power across generations. So the question haunts us: which assets truly preserve this invisible time capsule of human labor? Gold, fiat, land, art, or Bitcoin? Each claims the throne. Each has scars and secrets. But before we weigh them, let's dig into history's first benchmark, an ancient metal that built empires, toppled kings, and still whispers to markets today. Chapter 2, Gold, the ancient benchmark. Imagine holding a shiny coin in your hand, knowing it's the same kind of metal ancient kings, pharaohs, and emperors once fought over. That's gold. For thousands of years, it wasn't just treasure, it was trust. The first stamped gold coins showed up in Lydia around 600 BCE. That's modern-day Turkey. 1 coin could pay a soldier, feed a family, or buy a small herd of sheep. People instantly trusted it because gold didn't rust, didn't fade, and it was rare enough that you couldn't just dig it up in your backyard. Even then, humans were searching for a way to store their sweat and labor into something lasting. Here's where it gets wild. By the 19th century, gold became the backbone of the entire world's economy. Countries lined their paper money with gold reserves, the famous gold standard. That meant if you walked into a bank with a paper bill, you could trade it straight for shiny metal. Imagine that today, taking your $100 bill to the bank and walking out with actual gold. But gold had weaknesses too. It was heavy, it was dangerous to move across oceans, and governments, they knew its power. In 1933, President Franklin Roosevelt actually ordered Americans to hand over their gold to the government. Think about that for a second. One morning, something you worked for, saved for, held onto, was made illegal to own in large amounts. Citizens were forced to sell it at $20.67 an ounce. Just a year later, the government revalued it to $35 an ounce. Overnight, the state made a 70% gain, while the people lost. Doesn't that sound like a magic trick designed to keep ordinary folks powerless? Today, gold still sits in the vaults of central banks around the globe. Over 200,000 metric tons of it have been mined in human history, but 60% is locked in jewelry and vaults. Here's a mind blower. All the gold ever mined could fit into a cube just 23 meters on each side, smaller than a city block. And yet that tiny cube represents trillions of dollars in value. But here's the burning question: what if gold isn't priced right? Some economists whisper about revaluing gold, jacking its price up to $10,000 or even $20,000 an ounce. The idea? To stabilize today's insane mountain of global debt, which is 3 times bigger than the world's GDP, but would that really fix anything, or just kick the can further down the road? See, gold is safe, solid, ancient, but in a world of satellites, apps, and instant global trade, can a heavy yellow rock still protect the sweat of your brow? Or is the crown slipping to something newer, lighter, and digital? That takes us straight to the invention of paper money and the curse it carried. The story of fiat currency. And trust me, this next twist is where things start to sting. Chapter 3. Fiat Currencies. Power of Paper, Curse of Inflation. Picture this. For centuries, money was tied to gold or silver. But in 1971, President Richard Nixon went on TV and shocked the world. He closed the gold window. That meant the US dollar could no longer be traded for gold. Just like that, paper money became fiat money, value-backed. Not by metal, but by trust in governments. At first, it felt like freedom. Fiat allowed flexibility. Central banks could print more when economies slowed, or pull back when inflation rose. And for a while, it worked. The US dollar became the world's anchor. Today, about 88% of global trade is settled in dollars. But here's the dark side. When governments can print endlessly, the value of your saved time, your labor, quietly dissolves. In 1913, the year the Federal Reserve was created, $1 had the buying power of about $30 today. That's a 97% loss of value in just over a century. Let's bring it closer. In 1920, a $20 bill could buy you a tailored 3-piece suit, shirt included. Today, that same $20 might cover a cheap t-shirt. Inflation is the silent thief. And history shows what happens when trust breaks. In 1923, German marks became so worthless that people carted banknotes in wheelbarrows just to buy bread. In Zimbabwe, in 2008, the government printed a $100 trillion bill, yet it barely bought groceries. So here's the burning question. Is fiat really money? Or is it just paper that governments promise has value? And if so, how long can that promise last before it cracks? Because if fiat is a promise, then real estate is land you can touch. But does owning land really mean safety? Or is that illusion too? Chapter 4. Real estate and land. Solid but political. Imagine standing on a hill in medieval England. Whoever owned that land wasn't just rich, they controlled people's lives. For centuries, land meant power. Kings gave it to knights as reward, farmers worked it for survival, and families passed it down for generations. Owning land felt like the safest way to store wealth. Even today, land is the world's biggest asset. According to BlackRock, global real estate is worth about $330 trillion. That's more than all stocks, bonds, and gold combined. It's where much of humanity's wealth is parked. But here's the twist. Land isn't just about money. It's about politics. Think about the Soviet Union in the 1930s. Millions of farmers lost their property overnight when the state seized it. Or the Irish in the 1800s, who watched as their land was controlled by absentee landlords while families starved in the Great Famine. On a personal level, real estate feels tangible. I remember running my hand across the stone walls of an old farmhouse in France, knowing generations had lived and worked there. It felt permanent, unshakable. But was it? Governments can tax it, regulate it, or even take it away. That's the paradox. Land is scarce and useful, yet not always safe. In Zimbabwe in the early 2000s, land seizures collapsed the farming economy, turning breadbaskets into famine zones. And in China today, technically, individuals don't own land. They lease it from the state for 70 years. So, is real estate the ultimate store of value? Or is it an illusion, stable only as long as rulers allow? Because if land can be taken, then perhaps elites turn to another form of wealth, art. But why would paintings become secret currencies of the rich and powerful? Chapter 5. Art and Collectibles. Beauty or bubble? Picture this. In 2017, a painting called Salvator Mundi, believed to be by Leonardo da Vinci, sold for $450 million. That's almost $500 million for canvas and paint. But why? Because art, for centuries, has been more than beauty. It's been money in disguise. Think back to World War II. The Nazis looted over 650,000 works of art from across Europe. These paintings weren't just decoration, they were portable wealth, a shadow currency. Whoever held the Mona Lisa or a Van Gogh held power far beyond cash. Art's value comes from its rarity. There's only one original Da Vinci, only one Picasso's Guernica. And the numbers back it up. The global art market is worth $68 billion a year, according to UBS and Art Basil's 2022 report. But here's the catch. Art is also fragile. Its price depends on taste, fashion, and sometimes fraud. In the 1990s, a New York gallery sold over $80 million worth of fake paintings, fooling collectors for years. Imagine thinking you owned a Rembrandt, only to find out it was worthless. I remember walking through the Louvre in Paris, staring at paintings older than my country, and realizing they're not just pictures, they're vaults of history and wealth. But unlike gold or land, their value is locked inside culture, not utility. So, is art a safe store of your hard work? For kings, bankers, and billionaires, yes, maybe. For everyday people, probably not. But this secret currency still shapes global wealth today. Yet, compared to the world of digital money, art looks like a relic. Which brings us to the next chapter. How a mysterious computer code in 2009 tried to outshine gold, paper, and paintings alike. Chapter 6. Bitcoin, digital energy, permissionless store of value. Imagine a world where money is pure math. No banks, no governments, just code running on thousands of computers around the globe. That's Bitcoin, born in January 2009, right after the financial crisis shattered trust in banks. Its creator, hiding under the name Satoshi Nakamoto, left a single clue in the very first block. A British newspaper headline, "Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks." It was a protest, written in code. Here's the mind-bending part. Bitcoin is capped at 21 million coins. Not one more, ever. Compare that with dollars. The US printed 80% of all dollars in existence in just 2 years, 2020 to 2021. Inflation eats your time. Bitcoin locks it away. Let's talk numbers. If you bought $1 of Bitcoin in 2010, today it's worth more than $100 million at peak. Even after crashes, Bitcoin is the best performing asset in modern history, up over 120% annually on average since launch. But here's where it gets personal. I remember my first Bitcoin purchase. I had no idea what I was doing. I copied a long string of letters, hit send, and suddenly, value zipped across the internet in seconds. No bank teller, no waiting days for settlement, no questions asked. It felt like sending energy through space. Of course, Bitcoin is wild. Its price swings like a roller coaster. Governments call it dangerous. China banned mining in 2021, wiping out 50% of global hash power overnight, yet Bitcoin survived. It always survives. So here's the question. Is Bitcoin digital gold or just a clever bubble? To answer that, we need to compare every asset side by side. Which one truly protects your sweat, your time, your life energy? Chapter 7. Comparing the asset classes. The energy test. Think of every dollar you earn as bottled time. The real question is, which bottle keeps your time safe for decades without leaking? Gold, fiat, real estate, art, and Bitcoin all promise something. But do they really deliver? Let's start with gold. It's been money for 5,000 years. The Incas, the Egyptians, the Romans, all trusted it. But here's the catch. If you buried gold under your floor in 1920, it held its value. If you buried cash, it lost over 98% of its purchasing power. That's the brutal reality of fiat currencies like the dollar. Since 1913, when the US Federal Reserve was created, a dollar today buys what just 4 cents could back then. Now, real estate. Land feels solid. It doesn't vanish. After all, farmland kept families alive through the Great Depression. But here's my experience. When I bought my first rental property, the bank, the tax man, the repairs, they all ate into returns. Yes, land builds wealth, but it's chained to politics, taxes, and rules. Art and collectibles, A Da Vinci painting skyrockets to $450 million in 2017, but what about the thousands of forgotten artists whose work sit unsold? It's a lottery, often rigged by elites. And then Bitcoin. Scarce, portable, borderless. I once sent Bitcoin to a friend overseas in 3 minutes. No middleman, no permission. But it's volatile, no doubt. 1 week it doubles, the next it crashes. Yet over 15 years it has outperformed everything else. So which one best preserves your energy? That's the test we're facing. And now comes the million-dollar question: what if none of them are enough? Unless the rules of money itself are rewritten. Chapter 8, the revaluation. Question: here's the problem. No one likes to face the world today is drowning in debt. According to the Institute of International Finance 2024, global debt is now 336% of world GDP. Imagine borrowing $3 for every $1 you earn. That's the system we live in. And sooner or later, something has to give. This is where the revaluation idea comes in. Some economists argue that gold could be repriced, say $10,000 to $20,000 per ounce, to backstop the financial system. Think about it, when the US dollar was tied to gold until 1971, each ounce was pegged at just $35. Today it's around $2,000. So the thought is, why not jump higher to balance the books? But would that really solve the problem, or just kick the can further down the road? I remember holding my grandfather's gold coin, minted in the 1930s before FDR's infamous confiscation order in 1933. He told me, they can change the rules overnight. And he was right. Governments can revalue, devalue, or even seize what they please. Bitcoiners argue gold revaluation is like patching a sinking ship instead of building a new one. They see Bitcoin as the reset button, digital, scarce, beyond government control. Yet skeptics wonder, what if governments simply ban it, or regulate it into the ground? So the question hangs, is gold's revaluation the lifeline for a broken system, or is Bitcoin the true escape hatch? Maybe both will matter, maybe neither. But one thing is certain. Sound money isn't about numbers. It's about protecting our time, our work, our very lives from being stolen. If you think that was crazy, you haven't seen anything yet. Hit like, subscribe, and keep watching. Because the next video, it's even wilder. We're going deeper into the scandals of money, and trust me, you'll want front row seats.